All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Sandy Barr, and I'm the director for Sierra Club's Grand Canyon chapter, which is the Arizona chapter. I use she, her pronouns. Today, we are here to call on Congress to protect Arizona's health, jobs, economy, and environment by standing up to attacks on key climate and clean energy initiatives. The Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act provide historic funding for climate and clean energy investments here in Arizona and across the country. And under the Trump administration, these laws are at risk. They're at risk of being rolled back and weakened, jeopardizing some of the most significant economic, health, and climate progress we've seen in recent years. With us today to address the benefits, the concerns, and why climate action is so important to Arizona are several community leaders. I'll introduce them and then each will speak about their concerns. First, we have Dora Vasquez. Dora is a lifelong resident of Arizona and a native of Pinal County. She holds an undergraduate degree in justice studies from Arizona State University and a master's degree in public management from Northern Arizona University. Dora is the executive director of the Arizona Alliance for Retired Americans, an organization comprised of 50,000 union retirees and seniors in Arizona who work to ensure social and economic justice and full civil rights for all citizens so that we can enjoy lives of dignity, personal and family fulfillment, and security. The AARA works to educate seniors and the community about the affordable clean energy benefits made available by the historic Inflation Reduction Act. Next, we have Will Humble. Will is the executive director for the Arizona Public Health Association. His 35 years in public health included more than 2 decades at the Arizona Department of Health Services, where he served in various capacities, including as the agency director from 2009 to 2015. After leaving the Arizona Department of Health Services in March of 2015, he served as a health policy director at the University of Arizona. He became executive director of the Arizona Public Health Association in 2017 and also continues his academic affiliation as adjunct faculty with the University of Arizona's Mel and Eden Zuckerman College of Public Health. Next, we have Otis Sanghi. Otis is a junior at the University of Arizona, studying computer science and future Earth resilience. He is the Tucson co-lead of the Arizona Youth Climate Coalition and the vice president of University of Arizona Divest. He serves on the City of Tucson's Commission on Climate, Energy, and Sustainability. He advances clean energy research at the Prince Research Group and as an AI engineering intern at Sandia National Labs. Finally, he is a 2024 Udall Scholar. And finally, we have Paloma Greenwald. Paloma is a public health professional with 25 years of nursing experience, specializing in Spanish-speaking populations and health policy advocacy. Her work encompasses school nursing, elder care, and climate health initiatives for equitable health policy. With a master's in public leadership and certifications from Harvard's National Public Leadership Institute and AFCPE as an accredited financial counselor, Paloma addresses social determinants of health through voting rights advocacy, food security efforts, military, quality of life, personal financial counseling, and climate initiatives at local, state, and federal levels. And with that, I am going to go ahead and pass it to Dora Vasquez.
Thank you, Sandy. Good morning. I'm Dora Vasquez, Executive Director, Arizona Alliance for Retired Americans. 2.5 years ago, the Inflation Reduction Act became law. This historic legislation provides funding for climate and clean energy investments, and now under the Trump administrations, these laws are at risk of being rolled back. And as Sandy said, this would jeopardize significant economic, health, and climate progress achieved in recent years. I worked in government for many years, and I understand the lengthy progress required to implement federal funding. Now, just when new programs under the Inflation Reduction Act are ready to be launched that will help lower utility costs, provide weatherization, rebates, and more, we could lose this funding. 2024 was the hottest year on record in Phoenix, with the city sweating through 113 consecutive days with temperatures over 100 degrees. These record-breaking temperatures contributed to more than 400 heat-related deaths in the city. The data is clear. Rolling back climate policies would be a bad deal for Arizonans. Seniors and low-income families face unique financial pressures. Many live on fixed incomes from Social Security or pension programs, limiting their ability to manage rising costs. Compounding this challenge, many seniors reside in older, inefficient homes that are expensive to maintain, and many live in homes that have been passed down from one generation to the next, especially in rural Arizona. 1 in 4 seniors rely on Social Security for 90% of their income. Addressing steep energy bills or replacing outdated equipment can feel impossible under these circumstances. In Arizona, where air conditioning is essential, energy costs can take up a significant portion of household budgets. The Arizona Department of Housing Weatherization Assistance Program helps seniors and families keep their homes comfortable year-round while reducing energy use. Federal incentives through the Inflation Reduction Act amplify these efforts, offering homeowners up to $3,200 annually and tax credits to cover up to 30% of energy efficient upgrades like solar panels, weatherization, and energy saving appliances. In 2023 alone, more than 3.4 million American families benefited from $8.4 billion in tax credits for clean energy and efficiency upgrades, according to the Office of Economic Policy. These savings are transformative for seniors on fixed incomes and working families managing tight budgets, offering financial relief and greater energy independence. While these programs are already helping many across Arizona, the future of these programs is uncertain. We call on Congress to protect the state's health, jobs, economy, and environment by standing up to attacks on key climate and clean energy investments. We know that the IRA and the IIJA represent a significant opportunity for Arizona's most vulnerable communities to improve their financial well-being and health. And the Arizona Alliance for Retired Americans is committed to helping these people, all of us, navigate these opportunities. Let's ensure these benefits remain in place for years to come so that all seniors and families struggling to make ends meet can live comfortably and safely, no matter their financial situation. Thank you, and now we're going on to Will Humble.
Good morning. Thanks, Dora. Thanks for the invitation, Sandy, and the introduction at the beginning. I'm going to switch it up a little bit by giving a little bit of a pep talk. I know this wasn't originally going to be a pep talk thing, but if you think about it, those of us that care about climate and protecting the globe and the social determinants of health that come with climate change and the risks and threats that those provide are used to being on offense for the last 4 years. And we've been really successful. So Dora, you mentioned especially the Inflation Reduction Act. That was not something that was easy to pass. It took a lot of effort behind the scenes. It took a lot of advocacy from people and organizations like you, and we got it over the line. And as you mentioned, Dora, those investments are out there now. The tax credits are out there and available. People are using those tax credits to make investment decisions. Businesses are using the Inflation Reduction Act to incorporate it into their strategic plans. And so as we shift Monday from offense to defense, keep in mind that this is part of the natural ebb and flow of living in a democracy. There's going to be changes in party affiliation that happen. There's going to be changes in who's in control and what they care about. But remember, we've made a lot of strides over the last 4 years. And so now we need to shift over to trying to defend those things. And it's important for people not to get discouraged and throw up their hands and give up. I know a lot of people who've just said, I don't know how many people told me, I don't watch the news anymore, ever since the election. Well, it's time to stop that. It's time to get re-engaged and defend those things that we've made progress on, especially those elements federally at the Inflation Reduction Act. And as we move from offense to defense, just keep that in mind that that it's never going to be easy, this fight. And it reminds me of an old bumper sticker that I used to have on my 72 Volkswagen bus, which said, think globally, act locally. And that's something that we can do in Arizona. Think globally, act locally. Well, how can we do that? Well, one thing is to look at the members in our congressional delegation and get engaged and let them know what you think. I'm not urging you to contact Mr. Gosar or Crane or Biggs. That's probably a waste of time. But try to engage with Mr. Siscomani. See if there's see if you can let him know that it's a priority. If you are engaged with business members, especially in that district, who've made investment decisions based on the incentives in the Inflation Reduction Act, let him know about those businesses and contact those businesses so that you can let them know. These are going to be critical votes that come up both in the budget and potentially repeals of some of the elements in the Inflation Reduction Act that have really made such a huge difference. So it's important for all of us to maintain our and become like Mr. Biden said, President Biden said in his speech last night, be the keeper of the flame. Don't let it go out. Keep up the effort. Stay engaged. Do that with our congressional delegation, but also do it locally. How can you do it locally? Well, there's going to be, as what happened nationally, our Arizona Corporation Commission has a lot of influence on what happens in Arizona with respect to clean energy and the utilities that they're supposed to be regulating, not captured by the way, and staying in tune with your organizations, getting your members to engage, go to the Corporation Commission meetings, turn in comments in the portal when you see, for example, things from the Sierra Club, which is really good at tracking that kind of stuff. So it's important to stay engaged locally that way too. What else can you do locally? Think about adaptation. I mean, no matter what happens with the Inflation Reduction Act and carbon emissions globally, it's going to continue to require us to be vigilant about adaptation to get ready for what's coming. I think, Paloma, did you mention? No, Dora, you already mentioned about how hot 2024 was. Well, what can we do for adaptation? That's going to continue. Support, for example, the city of Phoenix and other jurisdictions, other cities who are trying to get shade into some of these areas of the city that have no shade at all. That increases having no shade and no good trees in your neighborhood can increase your local temperatures 10 degrees in the summer. So those are some of the things that you could do. Talk to and engage with our congressional delegations, at least the ones that the very few that on the our side that listen and follow what's happening at the Arizona Corporation Commission and get involved and get your organizations involved. Engage your stakeholders and especially local businesses that are making decisions based on what they believe the incentives are in the Inflation Reduction Act. And then continue to think locally. So it's, I'm just encouraging everybody to not lose hope and be that keeper of the flame that President Biden talked about being last night, because this will pass. We will get to the other side of this. Eventually, we will be back on offense to try to make some additional progress like we've made over the last 4 years. But if we give up now and don't go on defense, they're going to run all over us. And and some of these things in the IRA, if not the whole thing, will be gone. So stay engaged. And that's my pep talk, Sandy, and the rest of you. So enjoy the rest of the morning, and I'll stay on for questions if there are any.
All right, and Otis, please.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you, Will, for that pep talk. Hey, everyone. My name is Otis. I'm the Tucson co-lead of the Arizona Youth Climate Coalition, and I want to talk today about two things. First is despair, and the second is hope. And I think hope is more important, and so that's why I'll be ending off on that. So first, on the despair side, which is rolling back the Inflation Reduction Act will accelerate the climate crisis, and that is an emergency that particularly impacts young people. And so, as a youth climate activist, I feel like I need to highlight how it disproportionately impacts young people. And I'll just give a few examples. First is increased heat in Arizona is going to lead to more heat-related illnesses and more limited outdoor activities. We're going to see an increasing frequency and intensity of these heat waves and extreme heat events. And heat illnesses and limited outdoor activities, both of those particularly impact young people. Another really important impact is long-term water insecurity, especially in Arizona. There's so many conversations around this, and it's to the point where, as a young person, I can't really know for sure if I'm going to have a future in the state because I don't know if I'm going to get water. And that weighs on my mind constantly. Another impact is educational disruptions. It gets too hot to go to school. It gets the air quality worsens too much for students to go to school, and that seriously impacts the learning, the educational quality, and the future prospects for my generation, for Generation Alpha, Beta, and all of these things almost culminate in really severe mental health impacts. Eco-anxiety is a deeply impactful crisis. And basically every single Gen Z friend of mine that I know thinks about it and worries about it and is impacted by it. When we talk about the future, it's really like, I don't even know what's going to happen. It's not worth worrying about because I don't know if there will be a future. That's the point that we're at. That's a level of despair that we're at because of the climate crisis. And so rolling back, the Inflation Reduction Act will hurt everyone. And it may especially sound a death knell for the future of young people. And so the bottom line is that we need aggressive, bold climate action to draw down CO2 and stop the climate crisis. And in this work that we do, that I think is where we can find hope. That is where we can flip this narrative of negativity that I just recited to you guys and give us something hopeful. Hope that we can solve this crisis, have a better future. Along the way, hope that we can build a green economy with well-paying jobs that contribute to sustainability. In that work, we'll make a healthier planet for everyone, just have better lives. We'll have better cities that are more walkable, air that is cleaner and easier to breathe, food that is more healthy. That is the hope. That is what we embody when we fight for these sorts of things. And the important aspect of this is that that sort of a better future, the Inflation Reduction Act is the key to that future. We have to fight to defend it because that is our pathway to a more sustainable, more healthy, more clean world. That's what I have to say. Thank you. And I'll pass it on to Paloma.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thanks for joining. So, look, if anything, I want you to come away with the concept that Inflation Reduction Act rules and climate investments really do translate as being health investments. I want to emphasize that during my time as a registered nurse, having worked in schools and with our elders, I've seen firsthand how climate change affects our most vulnerable populations. Rolling back such climate policies isn't just an environmental issue, but it's a public health concern. And our elders and our children are particularly susceptible, to these health impacts because of increased air pollution and extreme heat. We need to strengthen and not weaken our commitment to clean air and a stable climate for the sake of all of Arizona's health and well-being. If we don't, we're absolutely going to pay for these worsening health outcomes straight out of our own pockets. So in my recent years as a school nurse, I witnessed an alarming increase in respiratory issues, particularly among children. And this being by a factor of 4 since my many years ago of training at Arizona State. So picture really young, happy, energetic kids becoming, more and more reserved and quiet and unable to participate because of increasing asthma attacks. So, thanks to clean air initiatives that are in place, families are often able to install energy efficient air purifiers and air quality monitors, even directly in their home. And this significantly reduces asthma attacks and emergency room visits. This support translates into fewer sick days for our children, but also less missed work for parents that are responsible for caring for them. It's really heartening to know that according to the American Lung Association recent survey, 63% of voters support transitioning public fleets, such as school buses, into zero emission vehicles. So this transition isn't only reducing air pollution, but it creates a healthier environment for our kids in their immediate area and in their school communities. It's encouraging that as well, 62% of voters support investing in charging infrastructure and incentive to make electric vehicles more affordable for the rest of us. So, as an elder care consultant, I've seen how extreme weather events disproportionately affect our senior citizens. Now, remember that heat stress for adults is especially problematic due to many medication side effects that predispose people to dehydration and poor temperature regulation. So when elders are able to take advantage of energy efficient home improvements, such as what Dora mentioned earlier, these important tax credits are able to update their cooling systems and they're more likely to stay safe and comfortable in their homes. It's also encouraging, related to the American Lung Association survey, that 78% of Arizona voters support assistance for homeowners and renters to increase such energy efficiency. So I mentioned the very young, some of the older crowd, but even for all of those of us in between, the economic burden of extreme weather events on healthcare is absolutely staggering. Our country pays more for healthcare than really anywhere else in the globe. So, from increased hospitalizations due to air pollution to the need for more robust emergency services during extreme weather events, the costs are skyrocketing daily. Even minor conditions such as common allergies become big problems. So take, for example, a longer heat season, as we've established very recently, where this causes longer pollination time of allergy-inducing plants. This in turn causes chronic inflammation in the body, and that decreases our ability to fight off even the most common infections. So the capacity for Arizonans to afford preventative care and medications is crucial and increasing in importance every day. When clean energy and energy efficiency initiatives keep our electricity bills manageable and our corporation commission cooperates, as Will said, we can allocate more of our budgets to health needs, including prevention. So ongoing support for clean energy options will absolutely lead to improved air quality and consequently better health outcomes for Arizonans. And I thank you for the opportunity to share some of my experiences caring for at the point of care for many valuable, special Arizonans.
Great. Thank you so much. I want to thank each of our panelists today, not just for their comments today, but for their ongoing commitment to protecting public health, our air, our water, and for continuing to fight as hard as possible for action on climate and to resist the rollbacks and the chaos that is coming from the Trump administration. As Will and others indicated, now is the time for us to double down on our efforts to keep intact these programs and advance climate action wherever we can. With that, I wanted to open it up for questions, and it looks like there is one in the Q&A. So, Jared with the Arizona Mirror is asking, this question is to anyone on the panel. With things like the economy taking center stage in political debates and on voters' minds, how does that change how you advocate for solutions to climate change, which can be seen as expensive?
Well, I'll just jump in real quick. One way is to leverage business. Remember, the Inflation Reduction Act is 2.5 years old now. There was a lot of financial incentives in there that made businesses think about the ways that they could either do tax avoidance or tax benefits or use the IRA provisions inside their business plans and their business models. And so, one thing we can do is to uh, get involved with those businesses that are making business decisions based on the provisions in the IRA, and get those entities to reach out to Congress people and senators. I think both of our senators are on board and friends of ours, but to get people like Siscomani to say, hey, look, this is a priority for my business. So it goes to what you're talking about, Jared, in terms of translating this into business is in making it clear to elected officials, especially Congress, that if they roll back some of these provisions, they are going to undermine many of the decisions that businesses in their district have been making based on what they believe to be long-term commitments and incentives within the IRA.
And something else I want to add to that is, or two things actually. First is the upfront cost, the price tag of climate action may seem high, but over time it pays for itself. And in fact, it's cheaper to do that. The cost of climate action versus climate inaction costs probably like $1,000 trillion more when you consider the infrastructure impacts, the health impacts cumulatively. And to give a little bit more of a specific example on how climate action can actually save you money and save the government money, as we reshape our energy systems to be more clean and use resources like solar and wind, solar is the cheapest form of energy available right now. And so when we deploy solar at a large scale, then we deliver those energy savings to consumers. We're also paying less for energy as a country because we're no longer reliant on OPEC and oil from across the world to pay for our national security and pay for our home energy needs. And so in that way, climate action actually is cheaper while also saving the environment, saving public health, and all these associated benefits.
Thanks.
Yeah, from my perspective, I would emphasize, the cost of healthcare. Inactivity on the government policy level translates to pocketbook expenses from individual people. A simple, well, what would seemingly be a simple asthma exacerbation can lead to a $2,000-3,000 expenditure from a family, for missing work and paying urgent care or even emergency room and hospitalization costs. And I still have to emphasize, sadly, although modern medicine has made many advancements, children are still dying from asthma attacks. This isn't, we don't have a cure-all setup to where we can just relax and expect medicines to rescue us. We have to work on preventative measures.
Great. Thanks so much. And I'll just add, oh, go ahead, Dora.
No, I just wanted to add, when we talk about economy and the Inflation Reduction Act, the Clean Energy Boom Report has just reported that as of 2025, the Inflation Reduction Act has brought 18,000 new jobs to Arizona. So that is bringing a boom to our economy. And then with the cost savings to the consumers, when we implement the weatherization programs and the heat pump programs and the new electrification programs, we're going to see a difference in how the consumers view the cost of climate investments once they have that impact and experience it.
And the only thing that I was going to add was that we need to talk about all of these things. We have been talking about all of this, but I think that always we need to be working on connecting the dots, connecting those issues to people's everyday lives. When they think about their electric bill in the summertime, thinking about the impacts of climate on that higher electric bill. Those are the types of things that I think help people recognize the impacts, the costs of inaction, and then the benefits of action. Unfortunately, a lot of this, a lot of the benefits from the Inflation Reduction Act will be seen down the road. And I know President Biden alluded to that, but some of them we're already seeing, but we need to continue to make sure people are aware of that. Any other questions? Let me look. I don't see any in the Q&A. Let's see if there are any hands up. No. Did any of the panelists have anything you wanted to add before we wrap up? All right. Well, thanks again so much. Appreciate your participation. Appreciate the media and others being here today. We will be sending out a news release and we can connect you with each of the panelists. If you think of follow-up questions, I always think about my questions about, a half hour later. So if you think of something, we're happy to connect you, and have a great rest of your day.